Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a stack of source material that really just flips the whole script on what we think of as success and power.
It really does.
We live in this world that's all about noise, right? Constant performance, being visible all the time.
Uh-huh. You feel like you always have to be selling something or, proving you belong there.
Okay, let's unpack this. What if the real shortcut to a powerful, lasting success, the kind that no one can just take from you, is actually found in the complete opposite?
Right.
What if the best way to win is through intentional restraint, through stillness and just mastering your own internal discipline?
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're looking at sources that argue winning isn't about being the loudest or the fastest. It's about quiet self-mastery.
Okay.
So we're going to analyze the case for intentional silence, for, getting rid of that need for external validation, and for trusting the timing of your life. These are supposedly the ultimate tools for clarity and, well, genuine magnetism.
It sounds so paradoxical, especially for modern life, but the argument in these sources is it's incredibly tight. So let's start with that first pillar, the power of intentional silence. The sources basically say that the loudest person in the room is almost always the weakest.
Yeah, always trying to still the space because deep down they're trying to, validate themselves, secure their position.
Exactly. It's this constant anxiety that's, driving all that noise. They think activity and volume mean authority.
But the strongest person, they move in silence. And the sources define silence not just as, not talking, but as the presence of awareness.
The presence of awareness. I like that.
Yeah. And when you stop explaining yourself, defending yourself, or trying to prove your worth to people who frankly haven't earned that energy, you immediately take back a huge amount of control.
That distinction is so important, the silence of fear versus the silence of awareness. Most people talk because they're scared of silence. They're afraid of being, I don't know, invisible or misunderstood. But real strength, like the material says, comes from the discipline to observe and understand before reacting.
It's about knowing your own worth so deeply that you just don't feel the need to perform for anyone's approval.
And that security, that internal foundation, is what turns silence into a tactical advantage.
Right. Because when you're quiet, your focus shifts.
Yeah.
It goes outward. You actually start to listen.
Not just to the words, though.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You listen to what isn't being said. You start to feel the real energy in the room, the hidden motives, the stuff that's buried under all the noise.
You start reading between the lines.
Yeah.
It gives you a level of awareness that most people just never get to because their own internal monologue or their need to jump in and speak is just way too loud.
It is.
The source material uses this great analogy of a chess game. The best players, they don't just make reckless moves or, announce their whole strategy. They sit there in silence. They observe the whole board, they study their opponent, and they wait for that perfect moment to act.
And the ones who talk too much, they just give their whole game plan away. They expose all their weaknesses without even realizing they've handed you their blueprint. And this restraint, it also gives your words weight. Real leaders, they don't fill every silence with chatter. So when they do speak, people lean in. They listen.
Because the words mean something. They carry all that experience and intention that the silence helped them build up.
Exactly. Real power is just felt. It's in your presence. It doesn't need a loudspeaker.
I get the tactical advantage, I do. But what about the risk that people might mistake that silence for, say, ignorance? Or that you're just checked out?
That's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
And the sources address it. Quiet strength isn't just about being quiet. It's rooted in visible competence and selective engagement.
Okay, so what's the difference?
It's the difference between being quiet because you have nothing to add versus being quiet because you are strategically choosing not to get into a pointless battle. Your silence is a reflection of deep internal processing, not a retreat.
And that leads right into this idea of silence as a shield, especially for your goals. The material argues words can be a distraction, but silence is a weapon.
A weapon and a shield.
Yeah.
It stops you from making impulsive reactions for sure, but more importantly, it protects your dreams.
How so?
Well, the idea is that when you overshare your plans, you're just inviting friction in. You get doubt, you get interference, sometimes even sabotage.
Because not everyone wants to see you win.
Sad, but true. Some people just want access to your vision so they can compare themselves, or maybe feel better about their own lack of progress. They want a front row seat to your process, but they haven't earned the right to criticize it.
Right. So when you work in silence, you're protecting your energy, your focus, your momentum.
Exactly. People only see the final product, not the messy process. And by the time it's out there, the achievement is, well, it's done. It's unstoppable. Your results speak for you, not your promises.
There's that great line in there.
Oh, I know the one. A lion doesn't have to roar every minute to prove it's a lion.
The whole jungle already knows. That quiet confidence is it's inherently powerful.
Hmm.
And if we're defining strength as this internal, self-contained power, that leads us straight to how we value ourselves. Because if you truly know your worth, you stop chasing.
You stop chasing external validation, yeah. Which brings us to the second big section. Stopping the chase and embracing attraction.
This is where things get really interesting.
This is where we get into the core concept of attraction.
Yeah.
The sources just state it so bluntly. Desperation repels what you desire.
It's so true. Whether it's success or relationships or just an opportunity, the more frantically you chase it.
The more it resists you. Chasing gives off this energy of lack, of neediness, and nothing valuable responds well to that.
I love the visual the sources use for this one, the butterfly analogy.
How perfect.
The more you lunge for it, the more you try to grab it, the further away it flies. But the second you just stand still, you stop grasping and you focus on, cultivating yourself, your own inner garden.
It lands gently on your shoulder.
Exactly. Life works just like that.
And when you chase, you're actually diminishing your own value, your own rarity.
Yeah.
You're sending a signal that you're willing to bend your boundaries or just overextend yourself
Right.
to keep that person or that thing in your life.
And when someone feels they're more important to you than you are to yourself.
They start to take you for granted. You've shown them they don't have to work to keep you around.
Okay, but I can see someone pushing back here. Sometimes in life or in business, you have to follow up, right? You have to pursue a goal vigorously. Are the sources talking about a specific kind of chasing?
They are, yeah. They make a distinction between what they call intentional pursuit and desperate chasing. Intentional pursuit is strategic, it's calm, it's rooted in competence. If it doesn't work out, your self-worth is still intact. Desperate chasing, on the other hand, is emotional, it's frantic, and it's rooted in fear.
The fear of missing out or the fear of not being good enough?
Exactly. So when you stop that kind of chasing, when you stop initiating every single conversation or trying to prove your worth, people notice your absence, and they start to wonder why you're not so available anymore. And that's when the whole dynamic shifts.
The moment you stop looking for validation outside yourself, you start operating from a place of enoughness, of sufficiency.
But for so many people, that validation seeking is like a silent addiction. It's a really hard cycle to break.
So how do you do it?
It starts by just recognizing that if your worth depends on likes or applause or what other people think,
Yeah,
you're always going to be vulnerable. You'll always be a prisoner.
right.
Real power comes from self-validation, from just knowing deep down that you are worthy and capable with or without recognition. That security lets you operate from abundance, not from lack.
And when you know your worth, you stop accepting breadcrumbs. Whether that's in a relationship or a job, you realize that real respect, it never asks you to beg or perform.
Absolutely. And this shift leads to what happens when you fully embrace absence. Not ghosting, but a deliberate non-action.
It's a powerful teacher, absence is. Words can't really replace it.
They can't. It forces people to sit with the reality of what they had, what they took for granted, and the void your presence used to fill. It's a wake-up call they can't ignore because it's based on their own experience of you not being there.
So absence becomes this, ultimate truth teller.
Yeah.
A filter.
A huge filter. The sources say people reveal their true intentions when you're no longer catering to them. When you stop calling, who calls you?
Right. When you stop trying to explain, who still tries to
The
understand.
people who matter, they'll notice. And they'll reach out with respect.
Yeah.
And the ones who disappear or get angry or try to guilt trip you back into talking.
Those are the ones who are only there for what they could get from you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't fight for you, or at least acknowledge your value when you pull back, well, you have your answer. And that clarity, even if it hurts, is what sets you free. It lets you move on with discipline.
And that discipline, that clarity, it brings us right to our final section. The unshakable strength of patience and just trusting the timing of things.
In a culture that is obsessed with overnight success, patience is so often mistaken for weakness or, a lack of ambition.
Right. But the sources argue it's actually the lack of patience that leads to all the bad stuff. It leads to desperation, to settling for less than you deserve.
To taking shortcuts that always end up costing you more in the long run. Impatience is the #1 reason people quit right before the breakthrough, just because they don't see immediate results.
You have to remember that construction analogy they use. You can't rush the foundation of a skyscraper and expect it to
You
last.
just can't.
And the most meaningful things in life, a strong business, a deep relationship, and elite skill, they all require years of patience, of just trusting the process.
Patience is discipline in action. It's the ability to keep showing up, doing that quiet, meticulous work, even when there's no proof that it's working yet.
Real success isn't one big dramatic moment.
Never. It's the compounding effect of all those small, consistent efforts adding up over a long, long time.
Which just reinforces that theme of unseen work, growth beneath the surface. Just because you can't see the changes doesn't mean the foundation isn't getting stronger.
The seed analogy is perfect for this. A seed spends months underground. It's growing roots, building an anchor, strengthening itself before it even thinks about breaking through the surface.
And if you keep digging it up every few days to check on it,
You guarantee it's never going to grow. There will be no harvest.
we fall into that trap all the time, though. We compare our own seed, which is still underground, to someone else's, fully grown tree that's already bearing fruit.
And that comparison is just the worst thing you can do because your timeline is unique to you. Trusting the process means you have to accept that delays and setbacks, they're often necessary. They're part of your growth. They force you to get the skills you'll need for the next level.
You have to be ready for the success that's meant for you.
That's the core insight. The longer you wait and build with patience, the stronger your foundation becomes, and so the higher you can ultimately build. The reward is greater.
The most successful people, the ones who leave legacies, they didn't rush it. They didn't chase instant fame. They took their time. They built carefully, and they stayed consistent. They understood that rushing leads to regret, and impatience leads to settling for something much smaller than your true potential.
And in the end, it all just aligns. Trusting the timing of your life means knowing that delays aren't denial. What is truly meant for you will come. It'll come when you are internally ready, not when you're desperately reaching for it. And it will align perfectly without you having to sacrifice your peace or your identity in the chase.
What a clarifying deep dive. So we've explored these 3 pillars of real internal power today. The clarity and tactical advantage you get from intentional silence.
The magnetic force you generate when you stop chasing and operate from self-worth.
And the unshakable foundation you build with radical patience. We've given you the insights today to hopefully stop performing and start progressing, to move through the world with purpose, with precision, and with a quiet confidence that needs zero external explanation.
And as you reflect on all this, here's a final thought to consider. If you consciously decided, starting today, to stop talking so much, to stop chasing it, to stop rushing, what hidden truth about yourself or about your current situation do you think would finally be revealed? Internal mastery really is the key to mastering life itself.